You are here on purpose with a purpose by design. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Purpose by Design. I am Dr. Pamela. I'm so excited to have you here tonight. We have another just amazing, powerful guest on the show tonight. And I'm so honored and privileged at the people that just keep coming. And all of them are just incredible. And tonight is no different. So before we jump in, I'm asking all of you to do us a big favor and hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, because we need to send the message that these type of programs are needed. And then, of course, share it right now with somebody at the beginning so that they can follow along and get encouraged and empowered tonight. So thank you to all of you that are here watching and viewing. Remember, you're here on purpose with a purpose by design, not by default. And so with no further ado, I want to welcome this amazing woman here. Miss Lee is with us. Woo! And she's going to tell you all about herself in a minute. But oh my goodness, she served in the Marines for 8 years. Now, I'm telling you, that is an accomplishment in and of itself, because that's a hard branch of the military to get in. And she did it, and she did it as well as any of the other men that were there, which I'm sure we'll get to hear more about. As if that's not enough, because that is a huge undertaking. Then she climbed the corporate ladder as high as it would take her and found like, I want more. So she realized she couldn't get that at the top of the ladder. So she decides to reinvent herself, and now has a business of coaching and helping other women who have faced that same thing. Maybe it's been reaching that corporate ladder top, ceiling, and realizing it's not all that it's cut out to be for some. Or maybe it's being a domestic abuse survivor, because this is another thing that she has been through. Or just finding that being a woman, hello, is a blessing, but it can be challenging. And have somebody that understands that. Well, this is what Lee does. And she helps you unwrap that power and greatness within and go running after it. So she's a coach. She is a speaker. Come on now. She's a businesswoman. She is an international author, best-selling author. On top of that, all this other stuff that you have done. And thank you for your service to our nation. Lee, oh my gosh, you are a powerhouse. So I've just told a little bit about you, but would you please fill in the blanks and tell us here on Purpose by Design, who are you?
Well, gosh, that was actually a pretty good intro, I must say. So thank you for that, Dr. Pam. So I have, my career, my life has been this windy, curvy road, right? That's part of what makes us unique. It's what makes us who we are. When we look back on our life and we realize all of the things that we have gone through. So some of the pieces that we didn't talk about that I think are interesting for others is that I grew up. I was the single daughter of a teen mom. I did not have my father around, and I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. So those bits of information are very interesting. And I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school because college wasn't an option for me at the time. And so I chose to go into the Marine Corps, and many people at the time would ask me why, or they would say, "Well, why don't you go into the Air Force, because that's easier.
Mhm.
Women go into the Air Force, so why don't you go into the Air Force?" And they doubted me. They doubted that I would be able to make it. And so I have this saying is, let people doubt you, then do it twice and take pictures. Right? So they doubted me, and I said, "Okay, you doubt that I can do this? I'll show you that I can do it." And so that was my push to go into the military, and it was an amazing experience. And I served for 8 years, and during my time in the military, in the Marine Corps, is when I became a domestic abuse survivor. And it was the culmination of so many things where you think you're so, you're at the pinnacle, you think you're at the top, you think that nothing can bring you down. And you go through a situation in your life that brings you so far to the bottom that you don't know how you're going to get up again. You just don't. You're down and you are on the ground. And so it was a journey for me to climb myself, to climb my way out of that, and to climb up and stand up and be strong and regain my confidence and find my voice and use my strength in order to really take myself to the next level. But all of that is to say, now when people look at me, they see the C-suite executive, they see the businesswoman, they see the international best-selling author, they see the speaker, the public speaker, the international speaker, the woman who has accomplished so much. But what they don't see is the person I was 25 years ago. And I think that journey that I've gone through is so much a part of me. And it also helps me connect with so many other women, and it helps to resonate with them, that even though they may be going through so much right now, whatever challenges they're facing, that it's not over. And that is so important to my story, and talking about who I am and where I started and where I came, where I ended up. And it just really shows the power in reinventing yourself, and the strength that it sometimes takes.
No kidding. Wow. You said that you had to climb up out of
Mhm.
that pit of abuse that you were in. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit more about that, because it gives a visual that's really, really powerful and moving. What was that like? Take us on that journey to climb out of the pit of abuse.
Mhm. It actually was something that I don't realize, at the time, I didn't realize was so pivotal. When that moment, there was a catalyst moment. There's always a catalyst moment when your life changes. There's always that moment when your life changes, and there was that moment. And warning to your viewers that I'm going to talk. I just want to make sure that it's okay that I mention some of that. Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
so
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Absolutely. So the catalyst moment for me was the night that my now ex-husband, uh, had a knife, and
Mm.
he was threatening to harm me and my young son.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't even, thinking back now, the fear, I was blinded by the fear,
Yeah.
and I was literally cowering on the floor as
Oh,
threatened me and my son, and my young son at the time, he was a little guy, was begging him not to hurt his mommy. That was my moment. That was my
mm,
moment where all I could think was, please don't hurt my child.
yes.
And when you've been through so much, and you think you're so strong, and you believe you have so much intestinal fortitude and confidence to be brought so low,
Right.
that was a catalyst moment for me. And luckily I had some, my commanding officer in the Marine Corps was able to get me out of that situation. That night when my ex-husband left, I had to climb up off the floor.
Yes.
So that is an actual motion that I had to do. I had to get up off the floor. I had to stand up. I had to grab my son. I had to hold him close. I had to walk to the phone and call the military police. So the things that I'm describing are the motions that I actually went through. I
Right.
had to gather my strength. I had to stand up. I had to grab my son, I had to walk to the room, and I had to use my voice because I could not allow it to stand, right? So that feeling of knowing that I had to gather that strength to put a stop to the abuse is what pushed me forward to do so much more. And I don't even realize that I don't think I realized until much later that simply by putting one foot in front of the other every single
Mm.
day was me healing. I had to remind myself that I was more than simply a victim of domestic abuse. I had to remind myself that I could remove that label, that I didn't have to live with that label and feel ashamed of what I had gone through. And so I began to own it. But it took me years. It wasn't overnight. It took me years where I had to constantly remind myself that I was worthy, constantly remind myself that I was okay, that I was still here, that no matter what I had gone through, I was still here, and my
Yes.
son was still here, and I was still making it and waking up every single morning, breathing in and out, getting into my car, going to work, and taking care of myself and my son. And
Yeah.
so that realization, it took some time, but it was a constant battle. And for years, I had lost my voice.
Yeah.
Lost my voice. I had lost my confidence. I had lost my self esteem. I was willing to accept whatever I thought I deserved. And that, yeah, yeah, because I had gone through that experience. And then
Mm.
I had a wake up call. I had an aha moment because when I did get out of the military, I had to answer a question of what now? What was next for me? What was I going to do from this point forward? And that journey that's another, that's another story, but that's how it felt. That feeling of literally having to stand up from the ground is what I talk about. It's what I coach on because I know that feeling. I know what it's like to be in that position.
Oh, absolutely. And I love how you said you came to that realization, that progressive realization that you didn't have to stay a victim here,
Right.
right?
That's it's mindset.
Yeah. Yes. That you didn't have to live under that label,
Mhm.
that you could turn it into something else. When you say you lost your voice, I'm just
Mhm.
getting this image of you as a Marine. I mean, you're not
Right.
playing. I mean, you're
No,
tough. Come on.
right.
Just the boot camp alone. Come on, I mean, what you go through. But then to serve 8 years, again, you're not playing. This is serious. And you took it seriously. What was it like to know what you physically and mentally were capable of
Mhm.
achieving, and yet it's like a dual life almost, that here you were a Marine, strong,
Mhm.
all of that, the few, the proud, the Marines, right? And then here you are cowering on the floor, like, and that was the aha time. But
Mhm.
I see that this had to be a progression, this had to be happening to you all the time. And it's like this dual life, like here I am, the Marine, and then here
Mhm.
I am, the being abused,
Mhm.
literally,
Mhm.
wife. What was that like? That must have been really difficult. Did you beat yourself up about that, or did you just like ignore it?
I beat myself up for a long time, and I've even had people say to me, "Well, you were a Marine. Why didn't you just fight him? Why
Mm,
didn't you fight back?" And I went through that question myself years ago. But there is a when you go through something like that, it's not overnight. It takes
right.
time for someone to steal your voice. It takes time for someone to steal your confidence, right? Lower your self-esteem. And so for me, it was as if I was wearing a mask.
Oh,
There
wow.
was one face I showed to the world, whether it was at work, on military base, doing my job. There was one, and that mask stayed in place for many, many years because even after I left that abusive marriage, on the outside, I had to be this strong, competent, independent woman,
Right.
but on the inside, I questioned myself every day.
Yeah.
I questioned my decisions. I didn't speak up for myself when I should because I felt, well, if I don't say nothing, it'll de-escalate any situation, any challenge, regardless of where it was. And so I felt for many years that I was wearing a mask. I was showing
Mm.
one face to the world. And when I was at home or in private, it was the real me. Or I felt it was the
Right.
real me. And for a long time, those two people, the two versions of me, were very different. They were very different. And so it was a period of time where I did have this duality of personalities, this duality of being me, that it was uncomfortable. The mask was uncomfortable because I didn't feel that I was actually showing up the way that I wanted to, and that I
Mm.
was hiding the real me, the person that I was because of this traumatic experience I had gone through.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine putting on the Marine mask and walking through your daily life only
Mhm.
to come home and like have to kind of as a visual, you have to take it off and stick it in the glove box now
That's
and
right.
now become the abusee,
Yep.
right? Like that must have been so confusing and difficult. And on top of that, you're a mom. Uh,
Mhm.
well, that must have been hard. Do you feel that you were able to maintain that mask? Did people know what was happening to you, or did it come as a surprise when all of a sudden things blew up?
It was a surprise for many people. I think there were cracks that were starting to show towards the end where I couldn't maintain the
Sure.
mask 24/7. But when it all culminated in that one night and it was, made public, there was a lot of shock and surprise because I hid. I
Mhm.
hid behind that mask for so long that, and it was intentional on my part. And
Sure.
that's another thing that I talk to, the women that I coach is I tell my story because I don't want to feel shame. And they all have a story. And I don't want them to feel shame. I want them to
Mhm.
speak about it because when you speak about it, it takes away the negative power, it takes away
Yes.
the negative impact. And so it was a situation where I hid it intentionally because I was ashamed at the time.
Right.
Now I talk about it freely because there is power in my words. There is power in me talking to you about it, power in me writing in the books that I've written about it, because this is my story and it is a painful part of my past. Um, but I've learned so much from who I was then to who I am today.
Well, to be able to be who you are without the mask and to be okay with her, right?
That's it.
And to
Yep.
know that who you once were not
Mhm.
okay with, you got to put the mask on to be okay.
That's
That
right.
she has been able to heal
That's right.
and come into her fullness. And now here you are empowering women and sharing your story, which is certainly taking the edge off for them. Like, oh, okay, you get it, right?
Mhm.
Because yes, you come across as that very together
Mhm.
entrepreneur, C-suite woman, obviously the Marine background. Like it could be intimidating to tell
Right.
my story. I'm thinking as women would think to you, because like, hey, come on, look at all that she's done and achieved. She's going to
Exactly.
think I'm an idiot. She's going to think I'm a fool, right? But you
Mhm.
come in and just talk about it. It's so freeing. Like I can be real with you, so I can see how that would be very comforting to women. And now we switch into the business world, whether they are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or have been climbing that ladder and going, what am I doing? You have also been there. So tell us about that. So here, Marine, 8 years, domestic survivor. Now here you are going to climb that corporate ladder, and on you go. And you said you got to the top of it and it was like, this is not what I expected. Tell us about that journey.
You know, I had a plan for my life. I had a plan. I knew when I got out of the Marine Corps, I sat down. I was remarried at the time, and I've been with my husband now 23 years, and it's an amazing marriage. But I sat down with right. So there are second chances for those of you who are listening. There are second chances when you are, when you want to reinvent yourself and have a different life. So,
Yes.
but I sat down and I actually wrote out a plan, and I said, to my husband at the time, I said, I'm going to be global HR director of the world. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. And I had my compensation, my salary, the money I wanted to make. I had everything laid out, and I had a plan, and I worked that plan. I worked that plan until the cows came home, the education, the certifications, I served on boards. I did all of that stuff in order to build my resume, in order to make myself get to that point where a company would look at me and say, yes, she's the one we want as an executive leading our people management within our company. She's going to be our global HR manager, director of the world. Like that was, that was the goal. Um, and so after years I got there, I got that chief HR officer title. That's it. That's the title that you want as HR. That's it. Either chief HR officer or SVP, senior VP of HR. And it was everything I had hoped for and nothing like I expected.
Wow.
Nothing like I expected. And I looked around and I said, yeah, okay, all right, I made it. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what? I'm still young, still young,
Yes.
still young. Now what? Now what was I going to do? And that's not to say that I don't, I do HR consulting. I still work with companies and help with their leadership and management and executive coaching and strategic planning and all of that stuff. That's my sweet spot. I still love doing all of that. But I realized it was lonely up there.
Mm.
There's not many women sitting around the board table.
Mm. Yeah.
There's not many of us. And we sometimes have to, just in the Marine Corps, sometimes we had to claw and fight our way to the top. We had to
Yeah.
fight our way into that corner office with the faux mahogany furniture. We had to fight for our voice to be heard sitting around that boardroom table. We had to take up space in order to be seen. And so there were some parallels to what my life had been like before, even as I got to the top. And I said, if I am noticing this, if I made it with all the clawing and fighting I had to do, there are other women who are still fighting this good fight. They're
Mm.
still struggling. They
Right.
don't know how to navigate. They may not have the confidence. They may not know how to use their voice. They may not.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, you know what? I think this is a sign for me that maybe it's time for me to give back, to do something with all of this experience and knowledge that I've gained over the years.
That is so powerful.
Mhm.
So here you are, you get to the top, you've achieved it, you've got your title,
I
and you
got
look
it.
around and you think, it's lonely at the top.
It's lonely at the top.
I am happy with my title, but I am not fulfilled in the position.
That's right. That's right.
And finding that you had to fight to get there the whole way up, and to be sitting at that table as the woman. Were you accepted? Did you feel you were accepted as the woman, or were you expected to behave like a man, or were you ignored because, well, that's the woman over here, and we're, this is the guys hangout here. What was that like?
That's a very interesting question. I tell this story about when I first went into the boardroom once I had been promoted to an executive position. And I was new to the company and I had come in as an executive and I walked into a meeting room and I had not yet met everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the gentlemen said, "Oh, are you here to take our lunch order?"
Oh, no, they didn't.
Yes, they did. And I was shocked, shocked. And I said, no. And I just went and sat at the table
Yeah,
because I belong at the table.
table.
I'm here, I'm here for the meeting. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry."
Mhm.
But there was an assumption made when I walked in that door that I was not an executive meant to sit at that table, that I didn't belong in the meeting as a peer,
Mm.
that I was somehow there to get their lunch order. Dr. Pam, I was literally in a suit. I was in a suit. Go figure. So I tell that story because there's shades of gray. There
Yeah.
are shades of gray. Now that incident absolutely colored the way that I viewed that team. It
Sure.
it it colored the way that I interacted with that team. And it initially started to impact what I thought about myself because
Yeah.
I said, well, what is it about why would he say that? Oh my gosh, am I not dressed the right way? Do I not speak the right way? What is it about me that's stopping the person from, considering me as an executive, someone who fits here? But then I stopped myself because I knew it wasn't me. I wasn't the problem. I wasn't the problem. I had earned my place there. I had earned my spot,
Yes.
and I knew I belonged there, regardless of that initial comment. So there are personas, there are modalities you take on when you are working in environments like I did. I worked with a lot of technical engineers, cyber intelligence type people who were very analytical, business minded,
Mhm.
technical folks. And I chose to take up space, meaning
Say
I
that
never,
again. Say
yeah,
that again. That is so good. What did you choose to do?
I chose to take up space.
Yes.
Yes. So in meetings, I made sure that I leaned forward. I made sure that I projected my voice. If I
Mm.
spoke up and it appeared that I wasn't heard, I made sure to interject. I made sure that my voice was heard in that room. So I had to choose how I was going to be perceived. I had to make sure that I was data driven, that I tell some of my clients when they're concerned about how they coming across, I say, lean forward and spread your elbows because
Yeah.
you want to take up space. You don't want to be leaned back and hidden. And so I took on some of those personality traits of the people around me. And I did refer back to my time in Marine Corps is I have to be loud and proud and stand tall. And
Yeah.
so that was what I had to do in those situations. and you always have detractors. There's always that initial hesitation about whether or not I was coming in the room and I knew what I was talking about. And so I had to, unfortunately, prove it to them very quickly. I did have to prove myself very quickly that I was here for a reason and that I
Mhm.
am the person that the CEO or the board had hired in order to lead this function within the organization, that I was their peer. So it was a constant push pull. But once that initial hesitation was gone, then yes, it was I was on very equal footing with the other executives. Mhm.
Equal footing came as you stepped
Correct.
into it, right?
Correct.
You
Correct.
became a presence
That's
to be
right.
reckoned with in there.
That's right.
Instead of saying, what they were doing, how they were envisioning, viewing you as a woman, whatever, that was wrong. But you
Mhm.
could have bowed down to that. But
That's
instead, you rose up and you took your place at the table. You became a presence to be reckoned with in the room. And then, even though there might have been a struggle was over as far as you were concerned. You
mhm.
were there and you're going to do what you need to do. That
That's right.
is so incredible. So how did you now? I'm still like, I just got to stop for a second. Now, are you here to take my lunch order? I'm still back there going, what? Who says that? What was
Who
wrong
says
with that individual? Like, who says that? Sorry,
who
sorry.
says
I
that?
mean, come on. Oh
Hey,
my goodness.
I was so the time I kind of froze, like, talking to? Who are they talking to? Because
So here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you decided to take a seat at the table and blow right past all of that baloney.
That's
And
right.
I'm so glad that you did, because now tell us how you went from, are you here to take our lunch order, to now here you are, not just a presence in the boardroom, you are teaching others how to do it with your Marine background, with
Mhm,
your victorious background coming out of domestic abuse, changing that narrative in your own head and
mhm.
stepping in and being a presence in that boardroom. Now here you are today. Tell us how did that take us on that journey? How did you get from owning the boardroom to
Yeah,
training and teaching others?
yeah. So it actually, so there's many layers to my life. So one part of my healing was to start writing,
Mm.
but it wasn't writing for management or self-help books. I write romance novels, and so that was part of my healing.
That's so cool. Okay. Are
I
are
know.
they out for people to buy?
They are. They're actually under a pseudonym. I write under a pseudonym. But I have 48 published novels that are selling on Amazon. I am a USA Today best-selling author. I've sold thousands of books globally across, on that platform. But that was part of my healing journey, is that
Mm.
I started writing. I started writing romance novels, and as a part of that effort, there are conferences and different events that I go to, and because they know I did HR, I was an HR executive. There was coaching and mentoring inside the companies that I would do. I was, head of, the executive coaching function within the organization. That I would be asked to speak on leadership and career coaching at these book conferences, because there were readers and there were authors, and many times they worked a full-time job, the authors did, and they were still trying to progress in their career even as they wrote books.
Sure.
So I was asked to speak at a couple of conferences about career coaching and leadership, and I kept hearing from people of, wow, if only I can I hire you? Can I hire you? Can I hire you? And I was like, no, 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 I'm just, this is for free. I'm just helping out. Um, and one day it triggered. It's, I have a service, I have an offering. Women are asking for help, and I'm saying no. Why am I saying no? Why am I doing that? And that's where the idea got started. And so 2020 was my vision year. That was my it was probably everyone's vision year until things went kaput. But that
Right.
was my vision year. And that's where I started creating the plan of how I was going to begin coaching and mentoring and guiding other women in order to help them get to the corner office if they wanted it, or
Mm.
to start their business if that was their dream, or to write their book if that was their passion, but helping them get what they wanted so they can live life the way they wanted to. Because so many of us are wearing a mask. So many of us are wearing a mask, and we are hiding who we truly are from the world because we are afraid. And so I want to help women remove the mask. It's so funny we talk about that. I want to help women remove the mask. I want to help them show up to the world the way that they are meant to be and own it and have power in that. And so that's where it started. I actually, my two worlds collided,
Yes.
and that's where that's where everything started from. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So part of your healing journey is you begin to write romance novels.
Mhm.
That is just beautiful.
Mhm.
And through the romance novels comes the launching of your coaching business.
That's right. That's right.
Incredible. So, this is what I'm thinking. You can't not, you have to trust the process here. You can't just, I'm all about action steps. I love them, but you have to trust the process. If you
Mhm.
had sat with your paper and pen and been like,
Mhm.
okay, here's the steps, you would have never in a million years thought that you would have a
No.
breakthrough moment at these conferences for
Yep.
romance novels readers and authors.
That's right.
Unbelievable, totally believable, actually, because God is so big and his universe is so vast. So
Mhm.
here you are, just writing from your heart, allowing
Mhm.
that to soothe and bring healing to you, probably help you work out things in relationships that you had
Mhm.
missed,
Mhm.
misunderstood,
Mhm.
yearned for. And so you're
Mhm.
writing all of that out.
That's right.
And now God says, okay, my daughter, it's time.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the next step.
That is
And
it.
here you are today helping
Mhm.
women because you realized that you had something to bring to the table. Again, making your presence be known,
That's right.
you realized it's time to take off the mask and how you
Yeah.
can help women do that. And so now, how are you doing that today?
So what I do now is I am really focused on I take women through a program. I actually call my program Step Into Your Power.
Oh, I love
And it's all about stepping into this world, kicking down doors and taking names and showing up every single day the way that you are meant to be. And so, I really help them understand, show up and show out. That's
Mm,
it, right? And so I do have a program, I do have a group coaching program that I take women through that really starts to peel back the layers of who are they, who do they want to be, and how are they going to get there.
yeah.
Once you can answer those three questions, everything else falls into place. But you have to know who you are first. And one of the most important exercises that I take my clients through to really find out who they
Mm,
are is I ask them to sit in silence for 30 minutes if they can. Sit in silence for 30 minutes if you can make it. And all the labels. that people have placed on you, remove them. Visualize yourself peeling that label off.
Mm,
Mom, wife, accountant, HR professional. Peel them, visualize yourself peeling them off. Everything you can think of. And then understand what's left. Who are you when no one is around? Who are you when the labels are gone? The labels that others have placed on us and the ones we have placed on ourselves. Mhm. Who are you underneath all of that? Once you have come to that realization, that's where you start. That's
mm,
where you that's the foundation. Because from there, then you start to say, well, what makes me happy? What brings me joy? What makes me feel whole? What gives me fulfillment? Right? You start to rebuild who you are without those other things hanging over you. And that's when you get to the crux of the person that you are. And so that's one of the first exercises, and those are some of the conversations that I'm having with women, because I also have to remove the labels from myself.
right,
That's
right.
how I had to rebuild. I had to remove the label of domestic abuse survivor. I had to remove the label of daughter of a single teen mom, a fatherless daughter of a single teen mom. I had to remove all those labels because they can be burdens on your shoulders, and they're
Mm.
holding, because then you live life based on those expectations. You live life based on what other people expect from you. So if you're doing that, then how can you live on your own terms?
Oh,
How
that is
can
so good.
you live on your own terms? You can't. And so
Mm,
it's very eye-opening.
yes.
Um, it's very it can be very emotional when someone does that, when they really do get to the root of who they are. So that's really the foundation of what I do and how I help women today.
As you're saying this, I keep coming back to you as the 48, 48 romance novels. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm coming back to that because you just shared this precious and powerful strategy of removing all these labels.
Mhm,
And, so I'm thinking about you as the reaching that highest of heights in the corporate world, the top of the ladder, okay, power, and how you had
mhm,
to own your seat, right?
mhm,
And that position of
mhm,
in the Marines, that power of 8 years, right?
mhm,
And even before that, rising up against all of that which had been in your childhood, and
mhm,
choosing to take that jump of faith and go into the Marines when you could have done something easier like the Air Force or whatever. But underneath all of that, all this hard exterior, which is great, by the way, was
mhm.
a romance novelist
Right,
waiting
right.
to come out, waiting to come out. And it would
Mhm,
be through that part of you
mhm.
that your calling, your full calling, which is all these little bits and pieces all the way along. And they're not little, they're really huge and important, but all
Right.
these parts
Mhm,
falling into alignment
mhm.
because you took off the labels,
I took off the
took off
label.
the labels. And
Mhm,
this novelist came out of you, and
mhm,
now the calling comes out of you. And now all those pieces of that jigsaw puzzle are being put together. And now you're taking women in all walks of life and
mhm.
showing them how to be free, how to be
That's right.
without a label in
Mhm,
their life. And
mhm.
you're right, women do that. I mean, everybody does that, but women, we really do that. I'll find in a coaching session, like especially in a group session, where you say, hey, what are your wins this week? They're always like, and I've been so guilty of it too, right? Well, my kid, well, this happened, or that happened at work. And it's like, okay, that's great. Yay. What about you?
Yes.
Something for you. And I've done it. I've done it, right? And what happens? The eyes go up and we're like, we're searching for something. Yeah, exactly. We're searching for something that is without label, that is
Mhm.
transparent, that is really that win for us. And so many times we haven't even taken the moment,
Nope.
Lee, to actually find some, like, what did you do for you this
That's
week? Where is your win for you?
yeah.
Where is that? And
Mhm.
you found that through that romance writing, which took you to that call, and now empowering all these women to drop the mask.
That's it.
My
That's
goodness.
it.
Oh, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So now here you are, speaking, writing, coaching,
Mhm.
teaching people how to be the authentic self in power.
That's right. That's right.
Amazing.
That's
Amazing.
right.
All right. Well,
Mhm.
I'm looking at our time, and I mean, I feel like you and I could go on and on for hours, and I imagine we could. You have come from being accused of being the lunchroom lady to to being a presence in the world that's changing lives. How do people follow up with you, find out more about you, get your book? We didn't even say that, the book. Tell us about the book.
I'll be really, really quick. So yeah, so we did have there's a new anthology that was just released. It is called Undefeated, and it's stories of powerful women who have overcome challenges and risen to the top, and how have we succeeded. And so my story's in there as well as others. It was envisioned by Kern Crockett Cherry. She is she's a collaborator. She gets people together. She brings people into her vision, and we execute, and it's been amazing. I'm actually with her been on several projects, and this is the fourth time that I have been on a project that she's been associated with. The book has gone to number one on Amazon. So it's amazing. And so if you are looking to be inspired, your the watchers or your listeners, if you're looking to be inspired and to really read stories about powerful women who have done amazing things in their life and overcome um, hardship and obstacles, then Undefeated is definitely the book for you. It has so many great stories and amazing stories in there. So yes, let's not forget to mention Undefeated.
Absolutely.
So
And how do people find you and follow up with you?
yes, absolutely. So I am on social media. You can look me up as Coach Lee Mariano or Alexa Dom Coaching. I'm on Facebook, TikTok even, and Instagram as well. So you can definitely find me there and send me a note. Let me know if that you heard this show, this session, and ask me any
Yes.
questions that you want. I am happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been so inspiring. You are a breath of fresh air. Thank you for pressing through all that you've been through and choosing to not wear the labels and to be a leader instead, a real leader, a servant leader, but one that is wanting to bring change one life at a time. I'm so grateful and honored. Will you come back again?
I sure will. Absolutely. This has been so great. I really enjoyed this conversation.
I did as well. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And I want to thank everybody for showing up today. And I know that you took notes because I've got so many. So you do not want to let this just drop. Make sure you follow up with Lee. Get the book. Please get the book from her. And ladies, yeah, I mean, she's got something going on there. So let's check out her coaching program. Call her, get on a call with her, see if it's a good fit because this woman is a powerhouse. And I mean, it's time to drop the mask, right? It's time to boss your own life. You have a purpose by design, not by default. Thank you again for showing up today, everybody. Make sure that you like and share. Take this message now. If you shared it at the beginning, but now you heard how awesome it is. So take it and share it. Let's make it go viral. Of course, let's do that. Let's show the world these messages are needed, but that what Coach Lee is doing is needed and it's mandatory in the world. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Remember, you are here on purpose with a purpose by design, not by default. So go out there with no mask and be the salt and the light everywhere you go. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Ascend Above the Crowd is the newest course by Pamela Hinkle. Ascend is a self-paced email course that will come directly to your inbox and will change your mindset and your life. Each week, you will receive lessons, resources, challenges, and journal writings that will help you discover your purpose by design. It's your time to ascend above the crowd. To learn more about Ascend, go to www.purposewithpamela.com/ascend.
Pamela Hinkle is a mindset mentor, author, speaker, minister, and transformation coach. Her weekly podcast, international radio show, and television show are a lifeline that changes lives and inspires people to discover their individual potential through realizing their purpose by design. Pamela is a natural motivator and has shown many how to find their niche and transform their lives. Although success is an uphill battle, Pamela gives the necessary strategies to flourish, cheering you on every step of the way. Pamela shares from her personal experiences, education, and life as a woman in leadership, utilizing decades of knowledge. Taking the approach of, let's have coffee and chat, she will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Are you ready for Pamela to help guide you? Email us at purposewpamela.office@gmail.com or go to her website at purposewithpamela.com.